region, Louisiana region, and also to give some perspective to the differences in lifestyle in the winter times in a place like Texas or Louisiana compared to Montana. The I grew up. I'm an old cat, so I mean I may not look quite my age, but I'm an '80s baby, and so my memories of the South growing up around Shreveport, Louisiana, when it comes to winter times, are very different than this right here. I'll show you. So that's the South, right? Louisiana, New Orleans, like that's it's a little bit different compared to what I look at now when I look at my backyard. This is a typical Montana winter, even though it was kind of slow. It was kind of slow to get here. It took a little while for us to get this kind of snow. I mean, we're in February, and this is really only like 2 weeks of snow. So the weather patterns have definitely changed. Um, definitely changed. But I remember in grade school and high school, every time it snowed in around Shreveport, Louisiana, I don't care if there was 1 inch of snow, even 1 inch, all the schools shut down. And it didn't even matter if it was ice or not. It's funny to me now because I'm looking at cars zooming down the street here in Montana. You know, like we don't stop for snow. Ice is different. Okay, ice is different. Uh, but yeah, all the schools were shut down, man. And so we would just stay home. We would stay home, and I do recall. Let's see, I graduated in '87 from high school. I recall maybe 2 or 3 winters my whole life up until age 18 where we actually had enough snow to build a snowman. I remember that. Me and my neighbor, uh, what's up, Bernard? Shout out to my homie Bernard McCauley. Grew up with my best friend growing up. whenever, whenever we got those 1 or 2 winters, I'm sure he probably recalls building those big snowmen in our yards, and then kids in the neighborhood having snowball fights. It was rare though. It was rare. It could have been more than 3 winters, man. But when I came up here, it was definitely a shock because one thing I had to get used to was, which I don't do now. I have a garage, but plugging cars in for 20, 30 below zero weather, having to get block heaters put into the car. So you got to take out the freeze plugs out of the engine block. You screw out one of the freeze plugs right in the engine block, and you put in this electrical device called a block heater. And what it does is it plugs into an outside outlet, and it keeps the radiator fluid in the car warm. It's called a block heater. So it's crazy because the you know down I came from New Orleans. I literally I had a truck, a Toyota Tacoma. I literally packed everything in my truck. It was like a week or two after my residency was over. I did my residency in internal medicine down in New Orleans at Oxford Hospital. Packed everything. It was time to go. I got in my little Tacoma truck, everything I owned, and I drove 2 3 hours. I'm sorry, 2 3 days straight up to I think I went to Fargo, North Dakota, maybe around that area. And I drove straight through, hardly without any sleep. I guess I was just so excited, to be starting a new chapter in my life. The adrenaline kept me going for like 2 days straight. Finally pulled over, got some sleep, Fargo, North Dakota, and then I woke up, finished the trip, ended up in Glasgow, Montana. And I remember now understand down south, whenever it was cold in the winter, here that would be like summertime weather. But but because of the humidity we have down south, when it's, I don't know, 40 some degrees, you're freezing. You're really cold. And my friend posted on Facebook today, what's up, Patrick? A space heater. In the picture said one of these would heat a whole house. And let me tell you something, man. A space heater is a little bitty gas heater that has a little copper wires, copper tubings going to it, and it's about yay big. A space heater is about yay big, okay? And so it's amazing that me and my brothers and sisters didn't burn a house down with a space heater. Because we would do stuff like, if we wanted to wash our face in the morning before we go to school, we would take a cold towel and get it really wet, and then we just drape it over the space heater that had, gas flames coming out of it. And then when the towel was steaming, we'd pick it up, wash your face. Like, nice warm towel, right? It's crazy stuff like that. And I remember the pipes were always freezing because this is one thing you Northerners got to understand. The water table down south is too high to build what we have here in places like Montana. We have basements, right? You got a whole another level to your house because you can dig under the ground. I don't know how far, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. Pour concrete. You can pour concrete down up here up north, and you can have a whole nother level to your house underground. And the pipes have to be below the frost line. The frost line, the frost line down south is really, really high. Okay, really, really high because the humidity down south down into the it seeps down into the ground really deep, and it freezes. And so the house that we built down south, my father built for us, it was basically on bricks, on these blocks, right? And you put 4x8s or something like that across the blocks. That's how you build houses down south back in the day. It was a Jim Walter home. This is old school. Jim Walter home. Uh, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about how I could buy my whole house now with one paycheck. That's how much it was worth. I could buy the house I grew up with one paycheck. But anyway, and so me and my friend one time, what's up, Mike? I remember everybody might like to help me. I remember you. What's up, Mike? My friend Mike. He helped me crawl up under my mama's house because the pipes down south, just the houses, a lot of them are raised up off the ground. The pipes are on top of the ground. And so when it freezes down south, what happens is everything freezes. All the water freezes. And so I got tired of my mama's pipes freezing in the wintertime. And so what I did was I crawled up under the house with me and Mike, and we took this foam, right? And we covered all the pipes under the house that year and then taped them up real good, like you see in basically trailer houses, I think, do this. This is just a wood frame house, right off the ground, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Let me tell you the fun it was with 3 kids going to school and a mama going to work, having 1 bathroom. My mom called me a few weeks ago and thanked me for the new bathroom that we added onto the house a couple years ago. She says that's her favorite part of the house. And I was like, oh, shit, I forgot about that. I forgot that we built that onto the house. But at any rate, and I remember that, I think it helped. If I recall, wrapping those pipes up like that helped quite a bit with the freezing of the pipes that would happen over and over again. And yes, I do recall at least maybe once when the pipes froze. What happens is when they thaw out, similar to the sprinkler systems we have up here. I got a underground sprinkler system that we have to drain out every year before the wintertime in Montana, and we get it right on the dot sometimes. In other words, sometimes we'll drain the sprinkler systems here in Montana and barely miss the freeze. But they're very very good at predicting when the freezes are going to come. And so the you turn on your water and water's gushing out everywhere, all over the yard. You got water going everywhere, man, everywhere. Now, driving in the snow, the new car I got a couple of weeks ago, when I first was driving, I hit some ice, and I most definitely was sliding like this. Okay, but understand something. I live in a state that has only 1 million people in the whole state, which is like maybe the third or fourth largest state in America. Big landmass. So I could drive for hours and see one or two cars. Usually, when I'm driving at night, there's a big trucker in front of me, maybe one behind me. And so when I started sliding, I just kind of slowed down, right? I slowed down. I was in all-wheel drive, okay? And what I know to do is I just naturally slow down until I get traction. Pipes never freeze. We don't do anything. Because in New York, like Montana, you guys, your pipes are most likely really deep underground. See, those systems are underground. And in the South, a lot of the piping systems are really, really high up into the frost line. The frost line is basically how far you go below the ground and have freezing. And if you put stuff below the frost line, this is the basis of geothermal heating. Since you can go deep into the earth, and you could have it warmer, people will put pipes deep into the earth and run water through them. And then the earth's natural heat, geothermal, will make the pipes a certain temperature. And then it takes less energy to heat the water. That's one of the bases of geothermal. And so basically, New York, Montana, our pipes are pretty deep up under the ground. And you got to understand, this house has a concrete basement foundation. Down south, my house had, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 12 cinder blocks with boards going across them. That was the foundation. The pipes were all up under that, basically sitting on the ground. It's crazy. This is why we can build houses down south for really cheap. But this is also why down south, when it freezes, you see the shit show going on right now. We are not, the Southerners, we're not used to that, unless like me, obviously living in Montana for 20 years. And I learned in Montana, we drive in the ice all the time, but you got to slow down. And I got snow tires on every car, all-wheel drive. That's a four-wheel drive. Every car is an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Snow tires, and you just learn. You learn how to slow down, and you feel the ice and the snow. It's crazy, but I'm gonna tell you something. It's gonna sound crazy, but learning how to snowboard. When I came to Montana, I went to Saskatchewan, Regina, Canada, and I was taking snowboarding lessons for one winter, and I learned how to snowboard. One of my favorite sports in the world, my favorite sports in the world are MMA, snowboarding, parachuting, and shooting guns. Those are my four favorite sports. I've participated in all those in my life as hobbies, and learning how to snowboard really taught me how to feel the traction and grip of the snow. And so I learned from snowboarding when I'm driving, when I start sliding, I just naturally know to slow down. And it's almost like snowboarding because you go with, right? You turn your wheel in the direction of the slide. So slide, it's like, right? Snowboarding. Right? Yeah, I know, right? And then you slow down, and then your car fishtails it out and then straightens up, and then you slow down until you get traction again. And then you start driving slowly. And sometimes it's 40. Last time I went to work, I had to drive 4.5. I have to drive 4.5 hours to get to work. I had to slow down to 50 miles per hour because that's what the traction was. I slowed down to 50 miles per hour, And I was cool because my all-wheel drive vehicle, I could feel the wheels catching. So, I mean, and now south, it, like no, the people just they're not used to it. And so when I hit snow, it's no big deal. I can speed back up 50, 60 miles per hour because the snow, you still get traction. You see, as long as the snow hasn't melted and refrozen, it just flies everywhere. The biggest problem with snow is that it flies all over the place, right? And so if you're driving past somebody in the snow and they throw snow up in your face, it's like, oh, you can't see, so you're driving and it's like, oh man, I can't see where I'm going. All right, and then what you should do, I found this out, and I'm guilty. Yeah, I wish I had a sled, snowmobiles. My friend calls them sleds. That's one of his favorite hobbies. My Canadian friend Alan, but get over into the lane that doesn't have the snow in it real quick, and then you don't blow the snow in the person behind you. Be aware of the person behind you when you're driving in the snow. Big truckers, little cars. Because when you drive in the snow and you blow that stuff all over the place, the person behind you is blind for a second. They can hit the corner and flip just like that. And yes, it will be partly your fault because you didn't think to get over into the lane that doesn't have the snow all on the road. Okay, and I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty. Okay, so I'm guilty. I'll take my licks on that one. It's just things you don't think about when you're driving in the snow, when you're driving in the winter. Slow down. Get your traction, man. Fill your tires. Down south, y'all don't have snow tires. Y'all got them May pops on y'all cars, man. Some of y'all got all weather tires, but for the most part, most of them cars in Texas, Louisiana, y'all got bullshit tires on your cars, man. You ain't ready for this stuff right here. So you got to slow down. You can't even drive 40, 50 miles an hour like me. You probably got to drive 30, 35, 40 miles per hour because you got the May pops on your car, man. You know, and you're probably not going to put snow tires on your car because you don't need them. It's probably, unless the climate change is happening and we're seeing climate change pushing the weather patterns, in which case you may want to get some all weathers. You might want to get some all weathers before the winter comes. Next year, Texas, Louisiana, may want to get them all weather tires, man. They cost a little bit more money, yeah. But we talking about saving your life and not flipping your car with your family inside of it, yeah, it's worth it. And another thing in Montana is front wheel drive. A lot of people can't afford all wheel drive vehicles. Everybody ain't got money for a 4-wheel drive, Toyota or a German car. So you get front wheel drive. Then the engine in the front of the car puts the weight on the front tires. Oh, people use snowmobiles in New York. That's so cool, man. I was thinking yesterday, like, man, I wish I had a sled. And I was thinking like about my friend with the snowmobile. And I told my wife, I was like, here in Montana, like, worst come to worst, man. Look, I got look, I got ski uh snowboarding gear. Yes, thank you. Chains. And they got some kind of things that are like chains, but they're not chains. And I know y'all don't snowboard in Texas, but the snowboarding gear that I have I could go to sleep in sub-zero Arctic probably temperatures and probably die, but I could I could survive in sub-zero Arctic temperatures with snowboarding gear on because it's so warm. So ski suits, man, ski suits. This probably ain't gonna last a long time. I don't really have any of that gear here. It's upstairs, I think. But it's basically pants and a really big thick jacket, man. Really big thick jacket. And you put it over your main clothes and you layer. The key to staying warm, my southern friends, is not big coats. It's layers. You can look like you have a regular clothing on, right? But you layer. First you put on your your thermals. Then you put on your regular clothes. Even these pants I got on. Look, these are like regular khakis, right? These are like regular pants. Let me show you some. Look at these pants. Look what's inside of them. See, fleece. See, fleece line. So, um, layer. And then if you got ski pants and ski jackets on top, put that on top of everything else on your layers, and then get you some good snow boots. Some of y'all got them Tim. What the heck? Got the Gore-Tex line boots, right? You always got bike boots out here, man. Because you gotta have them. This right here, you can go to sleep with these on your feet. These remind me of the military boots we used to call Matterhorns. Gore-Tex lined, right? Gore-Tex line, man. Sub-zero temperatures. I went hunting in these actually recently. Yeah, Gore-Tex. And I'm gonna tell you something. I think this is an urban myth. I'm not sure. I don't know, but I don't know if letting your water run at night is gonna keep it from freezing. Because my mom would always say, "Let the water drip." Now, going back to my physics, I would say moving water has some kinetic energy in it, so it probably has a lower freezing point, especially if it's got minerals in it, like this water does. The hard water, lower freezing point. But I don't know how much the freezing point is lowered, because I do recall at least one time, maybe growing up, we let the water drip down south because drip. We think it's not going to freeze when it drips, right? I recall one winter it dripped and it still froze. I think insulating the pipes is really better than letting the water drip. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say you get maybe a fraction of a degree as far as the difference in water freezing, sitting still, and water moving. Okay, but it has to make a difference though. But okay, think about this: you have underwater movement in Alaska, but the top of the glaciers will still be frozen. But I want to say a lot of rivers uh, maybe don't freeze as much. So there has to be something to it. But some of you experts out there got to quantitate this and let me know. Get back to me and let me know how much water freezes. What degree does water freeze when it's moving, as opposed to sitting still? Because a lot of people down south, when it gets cold at night, they let the water drip. And so I want to put that urban legend to test and see what actually does it do. What does it do? And do not put generators inside of structures. The people that died in Texas, may they rest in peace and be reborn into glory. Uh, they put a generator inside of a camper or something like that. I heard on the news today, and that's why they got the carbon monoxide. And I was wondering, I was like, how did they get carbon monoxide? Because if I just sit in my car, I've done it before. I've done it before. I stopped at a truck stop, slept in my car, left my car running. I wasn't worried about dying because I was outside. And my wife asked me, like, how did they die? I'm like, I don't know. But now I think it's clarified now. Skeet shooting, too cute and too chewy. Deer meat, it depends on the deer. It depends on male or female, how old it is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is he running when you shoot it, or is it not running when you shoot it? But no, it's good. Deer meat is good, man. Deer meat is good. You can jerky it. You can you can can it. My wife makes deer adobo, which is a Filipino dish out of deer meat, steaks, back straps, tenderloins, all that stuff, man. All of that stuff. Fish and chicken I like, but it really depends on where you get the fish and chicken from. Is it prepared a certain way? Is it preserved a certain way? Are the chickens being held inside of a cage and they got one eye and they're eating each other and their heads are popped off? You know, the traumatic deaths. I'd rather a skilled assassin hunter put a bullet through my head and drop my ass. I'm just saying. And actually, if you study Buddhist literature, an animal that's destined to be reborn in the human realm, one of the things that can happen is if an animal, I don't know if this is true or not, I'm just telling you, if an animal is killed by a human, that animal is destined to be reborn as a human being. That's just, I don't know how they know this. And animals that live with human beings for long periods of time, I think those animals can also be reborn in the human realm. I don't know how people figure this stuff out. I'm not a yogi on that level. On that level, yes, I'm a yogi, but not on that level. So I don't know. Interesting. And also, we pray over our animals after we kill them. Hunters, true hunters, real hunters from the native tradition. You bless the animal. You thank you for providing sustenance for your animal, which I did. Thank the animal for providing sustenance for my family. And me and that buck became brothers, spiritual brothers, because he sacrificed himself for me. Fresh fish, definitely, definitely. As long as you ain't talking about no fish sticks out of the box. And one of these chickens that's been, but elk, deer, pheasant, grouse. It's different. The other thing about hunting is that y'all running out of food, man, down there in the south. Y'all running out of food down there. Like worst come to worst, am I telling you probably got a freezer full of a cow, a quarter cow, a buffalo meat, a freezer full of deer meat. My friend, shit, he killed elk, deer, some other animals. I mean, I'm sure he's got a freezer full of meat right now. So there's some advantages to knowing how to grab your strap and do what it was meant to do, which is provide sustenance for yourself, or bow and arrow, or whatever. Salmon and lobster. Oh, I bet Maine lobster is really good. I would love to have some of that. I did go salmon fishing in the bay a couple of years back. It was a lot of fun. We went out past the Golden Gate Bridge on a pretty big boat. Put the big poles in the water. They were rock fishing out there. A vegetarian. Vegan is probably okay if you're not burning up a lot of protein. If you're working out a lot and you're bodybuilding and things like that, I don't think a vegan diet is gonna cut it. I'm just being honest. You're gonna need protein supplements, and I don't know how good protein supplements are compared to like beef, chicken, and fish. I don't know. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ask Arnold Schwarzenegger. Could you survive on protein drinks every day with no steaks? I mean, if you're doing what most of us do, yeah, you can. There are vegans all over the world. I aspire to be a vegan one day, but right now I'm probably more of a pescatarian. But I don't. Even the Buddha did not say you had to be a vegetarian. This is a misnomer, a misunderstanding in the Buddhist community. What the Buddha said was this: if the animal was not killed specifically for you, killed just for you, and you didn't witness it being killed, then you had to accept. You had to accept what was given to you as a monk. You had to accept it and eat it. If that was meat, then you ate the meat. So this is what in the Buddhist. I don't know if it's Theravada or Mahayana. I'm not sure what sect of Buddhism it was. But this is my understanding and my teachings is that um, if it wasn't killed specifically for you, if you were a monk, I'm not a monk. I'm a layperson. I'm a drunken monk. That's different. That's a hip hop name. That's the name I used when I was putting out hip hop music. I'm not an ordained monk, but I am my own guru, as all you are as well. So, Siddhartha, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha of our age. But yeah, man, just use your common sense, man. Eat the diet, like Subguru said. Eat the diet that you need for yourself. If you're sitting on your ass all day long doing nothing, do you really need 2,500 calories? Do you need all that? No. If you don't lift weights every single day, do you need that much protein? No. Okay. It was a big deal back in the medieval periods on and thereafter to get meat on your diet in your diet. Oh yeah, two vegetarian parents. Wow. But I think vegans probably live longer. If I had to guess, I would say vegetarians probably live longer, and they probably have less cancer. Yes, eat in moderation. Eat in moderation. Eat the diet that your body's asking you for. Learn to listen to your diet. Listen to your body. A lot of people during the pandemic, including me, have put on a few extra pounds because we're not burning the calories that we normally do. And so you're gonna have to seriously. This thing is lasting quite a while. And down south, as you see, what happens when the trucks stop running. Look how fast the food runs out, right? Look how fast the food ran out in Texas when the trucks couldn't get through. You know, one of my friends is a nurse anesthetist. She said I saw her post on Facebook today. She said she was in a hospital and somewhere down south. She didn't say where. They had to boil the water. She said she couldn't leave the hospital. She said there was no more room for patients in the hospital, but they were still coming in. Uh, and she basically was on lockdown in the hospital, and she was saying how difficult it was. And she said they were running out of food. This is what she said. A nurse anesthetist who probably volunteered. She's from this area, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. Maybe she's a locums traveling nurse anesthetist. I'm not sure. But it's a lot of people going through a lot of trials right now, man. We're all being tested. We're all being tested at the highest level that we have been tested at. It may be a joke to somebody from a third world country who's been through this in their sleep and worse. Father died of cancer, but he worked. Oh, wow. Yeah. My wife is asking me why the 9/11 dust was probably causing cancer in certain people. And I told her it was probably because of the sheer amount of chemicals that were aerosolized in that 9/11 dust. Like, who knows what was in that dust? Nobody knows. You could predict what the most carcinogenic chemicals were, but it was a lot of stuff in there. There you go, 67 years old, man. Women outlive men usually. I don't for different reasons. Uh, yeah, one they don't get shot as much. They don't get shot up as much as the men that we can. Oh my god, that testosterone before 9/11. No, I understand. I'm just saying, similar to what he was probably doing. He may have been exposed to stuff inside of the chemicals, right? And 9/11 was one big dose of a bunch of chemicals. And I want to say that there's higher rates of cancer going on with the people who survived 9/11, the first responders, the firemen. So, look, man, can't live forever. We're all gonna die. But what's important is how you live. That's it. Since we're all gonna die, we can't do a damn thing about it. Computer rooms. I don't know if he was exposed to asbestos or not, but yeah, man, it's a lot of people dying suddenly right now, and you have to also uh, take that into consideration on your spiritual path. What happens if I die suddenly? The other day, I said this prayer that I said when I was a kid. I said, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." And remember that prayer? Remember, a lot of y'all didn't say the Our Father prayer growing up down south. We were taught that little prayer for the little kids. For the little kids, we learned that prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen. That was it. And I still think it comes down to just that. Like, things happen out of our control. Mother Nature flexes like she's doing right now. Coronavirus, global climate change, et cetera, et cetera. Human beings are slow to respond, slow to learn, and we're pretty slow in dealing with change. That's just how we are. If Montana suddenly became a Saharan desert, I doubt we would respond to it any better than the Southerners dealing with snow. It'd be the same thing, but a different, right? We'd be dying. We'd be dying here from, heat exposure. Actions speak louder than words. Most definitely, part of life. Death and life are the same thing. People just don't get it. Death and life are the same thing, man. It's like trying to separate death from life is like trying to have water without oxygen. Water is H2O, right? So you're trying to define what water is. So you want to talk about hydrogen. Can't do that. Can't do that. You got to talk about two hydrogens and one oxygen. What happens when you put two hydrogens and one oxygen together in a certain configuration, energetically, chemical bonding, et cetera, et cetera? You get a certain manifestation called water. And that's the way I think about life and death. You too. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for chiming in. It's good to have people to bounce things off of when you're talking to yourself, circumambulating. Anything else about the South? Let's see. When it came to winter, uh, that's the big stuff, man. Schools would get shut down left and right. Water would freeze all the time. You had to wrap the pipes. The like, had to sit in front of the space heater in the morning. We can live in the present. It's better to live in the present. Suffering is much more palatable if we live in the present. If we live in this moment, but it's not easy. Not easy at all, man. Believe you me, I've dedicated at least the latter half of my life to this path. And every day, every day I look in the mirror and I go, man, have you made any progress at all? What is going on? Sometimes I just, uh, what did you use to wrap the pipes with? We use this stuff that looks like foam, like this foamy stuff, like the packing materials they use sometimes. But it was shaped in a pipe, and you could cut it down the middle like this, and it was a tube, and you basically just pop that around the pipe, and then you tape it up. That's what we use. They probably still sell it, but now it's too late. You got to do that before it snows, man. I mean, if it's gonna be a long winter, but I think down south, right around March and April, they're gonna be good most likely. They just got to get through March. Down Texas, where I'm from. I'm from near Dallas, Texas, Shreveport, Louisiana. That's my area. So I'm dead center where I'm from is this is dead center where this is going on at. So I know what's going on because I grew up in the area, and I know we're not ready. And I thought it would be interesting for people to hear the contrast of a person that lived down there, but now lives in a place like Montana that's every year it's like crazy winters. I had record breaker winters here where the snow was up to my freaking knees, above my knees. Like what they used to race car roll cages. Yeah, that stuff. Yes, like the stuff they use in the car roll cages. Yes, that they wrap around it. Yeah, that's what it was. and we put that around the pipes, and we wrap them up with duct tape. You don't even need to use duct tape, but I think we use duct tape, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Mike, for helping me do that years ago. My mama thanks you, even though she's not on the broadcast. I'm sure she'd want to thank you again for helping out. Yeah, sometimes, like I read a lot of spiritual books and pray and meditate a lot, but sometimes I just live my life, man. This is the art of living that people don't talk about. Because let's be honest, when you're taking your last few breaths, you ain't gonna have no books in front of you telling you how to die properly. You got to use what you learn. And so one of the things I want to share with people is this just that. Like at some point, be the prayer, be the meditation, be peace, be equanimity, be loving kindness, joy, compassion, and equanimity. Be those things, right? Be the perfections, right? Because at some point we get so caught up and we start packing this knowledge around like we pack our money around, like our suitcases, like we pack our body around. The knowledge can become like that. It can become an impediment on the path. So at some point, just like when I learned to snowboard, I had to get off the bunny hills. I was up in Saskatchewan, Canada, snowboarding in Regina. I was on a bunny hill that was barely like it was like 15, 20 degrees. It was like 200, 300 meters. Had to take a tow rope to the top, which is a joke to a skier. If you're doing black diamonds, that's a joke. But that's how you got to learn, right? Through the bunny hills. But at some point, slide, baby. No more bunny hills, man. Right? No more bunny hills. At some point, rubber has to meet road. How do you know? How do you know where you're at spiritually? If everything is propping you up, you got a Bible in one hand, a cross in the other, garlic around your neck, 10 crucifixes in your back pocket, picture of Jesus on the dashboard, or Buddha, or Krishna, or whatever. I mean, at some point, you got to just live your life, you know, and you got to just take a good, hard look at where you're at. That's what you got to do. And so, while we're all being tested, what I'm saying is we've all been forcibly put into retreat. Monks go into retreat voluntarily. We've been forcibly placed in retreat, and now we're being tested. And a lot of us don't like it. Mother Nature's testing us. Everything's testing us. But this is the only way you can learn about who you are in relation to what is. And um, just be present and figure out the most skillful thing that needs to be done in that moment. Whatever it may be. Eat fish, exercise, read less, exercise more. maybe I'm giving y'all maybe I'm giving y'all my list. I'm giving away my challenges. I'm giving away all my challenges to everybody, like the things I'm dealing with. But whatever it may be, because honestly, like I said, when you're taking your last few breaths in this world, anybody could be propping no textbook up in front of you on how to die properly. You're gonna have the treasures in heaven that you put there. That's what's gonna be waiting for you, and it's tough because the mind is relentless. So we must be relentless. Okay, and believe me, the mind is relentless, and its attachments to this world, to the material world that we live in, to the body, to the comforts that it craves, to the projected life that it wants. It's relentless. When you keep looking, and Mother Nature ain't gonna quit either. She ain't gonna quit. And so we have to develop this spirit of relentlessness on our path, and the spirit of forgiveness and compassion and love for ourselves as much as for everybody else around us. When we know we're coming up short, part of the The spiritual warrior mindset you literally will not let that deter you. Like you literally know you will come up short a million times. You know, but you expect the million and one time that'll be it. That's the way you approach it. You're gonna put 100%, the million and one time, because you don't know, that could be it. Because once you got it, you got it. Don't forget that on a spiritual path. Once you got it, you got it. Can't be taken away from you. So it's like somebody telling you on the football field, look, you got 3 yards to go. You're the best quarterback in the world. There's $2 or $3 million bonus on the table if you win this game. You get your ring. I know your legs are broke up. Not broken, but your body's broke up. Mentally, you're gone. This team has the best defense the world has ever seen. You got 30 seconds left on the clock. What you gonna do, bro? That's what it's like for us on the spiritual path. Except the 30 seconds is eternity, right? And the defense is your ego, who will not let up and will find a million reasons for you to give up. The weather, the pandemic. Can't get it because you're just not built that way. You just don't understand spiritual stuff. I know how you feel. Have I succeeded? What have I done with my life? You lived it. You were good. You enjoyed it. Yeah. Well, it's just the games that the mind plays with us. You know, it's got an endless list. I mean, if you go look at the defense mechanisms in a modern psychology book, based on Jung and Freud, understand those are just the defense mechanisms that we figured out. There are many more other than denial and projection and sublimation and learned helplessness and identification with the aggressor. There's many more. There's many more. Denial is not just a river in Africa; it's a defense mechanism. And there's many more that have not been categorized and written down in psychology books. Defense mechanisms that our ego uses to guard against us, you know, going deeper into who we really are, breaking down these barriers that we have, these barriers that lead us back to fear and loathing and depression, lead us back again and again. It's always a reason. The ego finds a reason. Oh, the physical body, the weather, the coronavirus, the pandemic. Before that, it was other stuff. It wasn't that stuff. It was other reasons we couldn't progress, that we couldn't abide in the calm nature of our innermost being. There was another reason we couldn't do that. Okay, and so you have to take a really good look at all the reasons that our mind finds to not do it. And then after a certain point in time, I think you get to where you learn how to just be and do. And you don't always need the textbook strapped to your ass and 3 crucifixes and garlic around your neck. You learn to go into the dark night alone without all the things, you know. I mean, our spiritual family always supports us, but there's some things that have to be done on our own, right? When you left the house, your mama didn't go with you. Not most of us. Now, you mama's boys out there, I don't know about y'all, because y'all disgust me. But the rest of y'all, you live and you learn. Maybe. Some people live and learn. Some people live and don't learn a damn thing. And that's okay. I mean, the great teacher is suffering. Suffering is the great teacher. It's built into the machine. If you continuously do the wrong thing and make the wrong choices, there is a built-in metric the universe built in called suffering. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. And she will spank that hiney, and it'll look like snowstorms. It'll look like coronavirus. It'll disguise itself and say, I'm not really suffering. I'm something that happened to you. And you didn't do anything to deserve this. Oh no. You're completely innocent. The world is torturing you. You have no ties karmically to this. But you do. We do. And the delusion that we don't needs to be put to rest. Until it's put to rest, there's no progression. Because the world's gonna find an endless array. There's gonna be an asteroid hit the Earth or something. I don't know. There's gonna be something else at some point for us to loathe and fear, right? At some point, you put it to rest, and you say, "Today, I will eat my breakfast and watch the asteroid hit the Earth." That's what today's agenda is, and there's a damn thing that can be done about it. I don't have a laser to shoot it out of the sky. I don't have a spaceship to go up there and retrieve it. So I'll eat my breakfast peacefully and spend time with the ones I love and watch it hit the earth. That's what the agenda would be for that day. And if your agenda for the day is things that need to be done, just do it. You know, be a part of the process. You know, quit splitting into the doing, the doer, and the doing things. Because that's what keeps us back. There's always this person that's doing something, and then the things I'm doing, and there's always this mental split that takes place, and it's very subtle. And the further you go on the path, the more subtle the split becomes between the person that's doing the things and the things that need to be done. But it's still there. And the problem is once you ramp your perception up and your awareness up, you become more acutely aware that even though you've made all this progress, you still have these same delusions. And this is the stuff that you have to deal with as you progress further on the path. But it really just means that you were holding back. You were holding back. You weren't truly dying to self. Okay, you were holding back a little some. I'm gonna hold back a little some. I might need $10 for lunch, so I'll give you everything. But come on, Jesus, don't take my last $10, right? The rich man, Jesus, right? Don't take my last $10, Jesus. You can't take my last 10, bruh. What kind of person are you to take my last $10? Jesus, like, put it in the plate, bruh, and shut up. That's what needs to happen, man. Put it in the plate and shut up and go home. Sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself, man. Human beings, we're funny. We're funny creatures, man. We have these great teachers from our past, sages and gurus that taught us all this stuff about what it means to be a human being. And all of us want to go out there and reinvent the wheel, which on some level we have to, because it is our journey. But when we get stuck, they gave us these great teachings because they knew we were going to get stuck. And when we get stuck, how do we know we get stuck? Because it manifests the same way, suffering, right? All this mental funk, doom, gloom, depression, anger, big one, you know. And we're always looking for these external demons doing things. No, look in the mirror. You want to find the bulk of the demons that's torturing you? Look in the mirror. That's where they're at. This inability to let go. And even letting go a little bit, you see it. You see it's there. You see the joy is there, man. You see the peace is there. If you look behind the curtain, if leaving a little bit, because a lot of people, y'all just do this. You close it back. Oh no, that's too nice. I don't want that. I'll stay here and fester in my wounds. Oh no, that can't be real. Well, that seems to be the nature of being. Is peace, love, and wisdom in the nature of our being. Manifesting is, you know. And so since the manifestations of nature are limitless, And the mind is an extension of nature. We have to use limitless creativity, limitless love, limitlessness to really deal with these different states that are coming. Death, life, it's the same thing. Just like H2O requires hydrogen and oxygen. You can't separate the two and say you got water. You can't have this thing called life without this other destructive process that scares everybody. But the funny thing is, the destructive process takes place every second of the day. When you eat food, your body's gonna break it down, right? When you breathe in oxygen, what's your body gonna do to it? It's gonna turn it into CO2, right? When you eat chemical energy in the form of glucose, what's your body gonna do? Your body's gonna break it down, turn it into CO2, water, ATP, and energy, and that's what's gonna help you walk in a circle and talk about the process, which I'm doing right now. The destructive process is in every single level. Every time a cell flexes the slightest little bit, ATP has to be utilized for energy, which ultimately came from the sun, which ultimately came from who knows? We don't know, right? But we know that that process of things constantly transitioning, changing, is the basis of life itself, death and life in each moment. The thoughts, no different. The constant tirade of mental states, emotions, and thoughts that we seem to be powerless over in each moment is also a manifestation, representation of this process of life and death in each moment. And the point where we back off and we're fearful to go in, that's the ignorance and the fear ruling us. And at some point, we will get to the point where we're not afraid anymore. Will we truly understand the only thing that we need to fear is fear itself, since we're all gonna die anyway. Now, I do think people die the way they live for the most part, but that again, nothing in the universe is absolute. Like righteous men die horrible deaths. Okay, I could go into why maybe that may be, but I don't. Maybe it is because that's just the way it is. Maybe you can do everything perfect, everything, and still die a horrible. A bear rips your guts out and chews on your legs, and you survive for 20 minutes while that bear's. I mean, and you were, a preacher, and you fed the babies and all that. I don't know. I don't know. But what comes to mind for me is the picture of the monk during the Vietnam War who emulation, set himself on fire, and he didn't flinch, not one time, when those flames were engulfing his body. So there seems to be a way of engaging life, death, that is so fearless that when the flames are engulfing us, we can sit still in stillness, unflinching. It's been demonstrated to us time and time again. Jesus on the cross, same thing. It's been demonstrated to us time and time again. All of our great, courageous uh, leaders. And I'm not saying martyrdom. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a true sacrifice. Because a true sacrifice, for me, is one it's given with intention in mind that this is sort of like Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? What's up, Ashley? Namaste. Remember Obi-Wan Kenobi? Remember Obi-Wan said, I'm not gonna fight you no more, Darth Vader. Put this, I'm done. And he just right fearlessly entered the next phase of his being. And in the end, that benefited Luke. It benefited everybody, all the other Jedi Knights, right? He didn't go in there with a atom bomb strapped to him and just say click and blow, blow up. He could have done that, I guess, the Death Star. I mean, They were advanced back then, right? Why didn't Obi-Wan Kenobi just bring in a dirty nuke or something like that in a suitcase? Forget the swords, man. Why y'all use the swords, bro? You live in just just bring in a dirty nuke, right? Suitcase nuke. Go to the middle of the Death Star. Click. Even though they did end up blowing it up in the end, but y'all get my point. I think the sacrifice is something that happens all the time, every day, every second of the day. We're just not aware of it. And becoming cognizant of the process and participating in the process is really all we're doing. We're not giving anything up because there was nothing to give up. Okay. It was all a gift in the very beginning. So the whole mindset of I'm sacrificing, see, it's really becoming cognizant of the process on the path, becoming aware of the process of this sacrifice taking place in every moment, life and death, see, in every moment, every breath. And becoming cognizant of the process and becoming okay with that lets us lower our guard, take the ego chatter and put it where it belongs. It's like saying, look, bro, you can't do nothing about this. This is the nature of being. This is the nature of this universe. And by participating in it, I become the best version of myself that I can. Those around me benefit at the highest, most skillful level. Because that's what it's about for me. It's what's the most skillful level that I can manifest in each moment. If you give me a sword, not that great. I'm not a good swordsman, you know. But if somebody was threatening my family, I guess I would have to manifest the highest level of skill in that moment that I could. If the person had a gun, I'd be SOL, right? But it's similar when you're dealing with mental states that seem like they're the gun and all you got is a pocket knife. There's still a most skillful level. It might be doing nothing is the most skillful, but there's a skillful way to just be and not always be bound up in certain actions, right? Because if you think about it, nouns and verbs are really the same thing in different form, right? What is not moving? Everything's moving. Everything's a verb. And in our mind, everything becomes a thing. So really, our language arbitrarily separates action from inaction. There is no such thing as inaction. And there's not truly any such thing as action on the deepest level, right? Because the forms are illusory at their deepest level, as in atomic physics. They have nothing but this insubstantiality to them. Call it energy. And that changes forms, thermodynamics. And so, on some level, you have to acknowledge that things are not exactly as they seem. They're insubstantial. The forms change, okay? But the illusory nature of it is what grabs us, right? And so then everything becomes, I'm giving this much, that much is being taken from me. When in reality, the process is going on at a indefinable scale, on a time scale that supersedes and is beyond time, okay? Because on that scale, even math and physics has nothing to say about it, right? The scale is too small. The time factor becomes too short, but there's still something there, right? That participates in that process of sacrifice, of being, not being, of eternal change, right? So, so I think when it gets like this, times get like this, and we're being tested, and we're going to be tested more in the future, financially, spiritually. This country's going to be tested. America's going to be tested. We live in this inflation bubble where endless growth to the economy, endless growth. That's not this. The market's going to correct. Inflation is probably going to hit at some point in America in the near future. Wars will continue to happen. Diseases will continue to happen. We will be tested. Mother Nature will continue to flex her muscle. And the only thing we have to protect us, our cloak, our shield, is knowledge, truth, wisdom, compassion, love, and wisdom. And us becoming what we really are. Those things, that energy of love and wisdom, compassion and wisdom, is the only, I feel like, the only solace that we really have in the end. You know, but that the process, it does involve being skillful. It does involve being truthful. You know, so you have to understand the process and the tools that you have available to you. Abiding in the truth of each moment is all you really need. We can make the spiritual path more complicated than that, but at the end of the day, it's drinking tea, it's singing a song, it's hugging someone you love, and being there for them. It's not being judgmental when we could make a choice to be judgmental, but we choose not to. That's really what it comes down to for me. And I think for a lot of people. So sometimes I just throw the books away, man, and just live at the most skillful level that I can manifest. And maybe that's not what you're manifesting. Maybe you're like a Jedi Knight, and I'm like an apprentice, or I'm not even that. I'm like Jar Jar Binks. What's his name? I'm far from a Jedi Knight, but I'm still going to, as they say, stay in my lane and follow my dharma. Dharma in Eastern Sanskrit, I want to say it means your path, your role in each moment. What needs to be done in each lifetime, each person, each moment. What's the most skillful means that you can live in each moment? That's your dharma. It's different for everybody. If you're out there on the road and you're sliding, you better know how to snowboard, or at least have some experience, or you're going to spin out and you're going to go into a ditch, you flip, kill yourself. Right? If you know things are going to happen, you prepare as best you can, but always, like as in martial arts, we stay loose, open, aware. When Bruce Lee goes, and he's looking like this, right? What Bruce is doing is looking 360 degrees. He's using his peripheral vision, and he's not focusing on any one thing in his field. He's becoming the whole field, right? So when the opponent attacks, he doesn't have to think, he just reacts with the most skillful methods available to him, which came about through preparation, years and years of preparation. That's the spiritual path. And so, get through this, don't get through it, doesn't really matter. There's a skillful way you navigate death. There's a skillful way you navigate life. They both require equal amounts of skill. Okay. And once that becomes a reality, we stop, uh, we stop separating reality into these little pockets, these little distinctive little pockets. Sleep, wake, life, death, job, home, friends, enemies, wife, not wife, husband, not husband, black people, white people, Asian people. I mean, we just stopped doing it so much. It's a process. It's like melting a glacier. Spiritual path for me is like melting a glacier with a magnifying lens about this big. You eventually will get there. Some of y'all got a bigger one, so you got a big magnifying lens. Some of y'all might have a big laser. Still gonna take a while. But the moment you are unaware, the magnifying glass is gone, the laser is turned off, the big magnifying lens is not lined up properly with the rays of the sun, right? So the process is realigning continuously until it's autonomous, until you do it without even thinking about it. You know, you weren't skillful in that moment. What can you do? You can use skill in the next moment. That's all you can do. You can't go back and use skill in a moment that's already passed. It can't be done. Okay. What that moment is useful for is that now you are aware of the unskillful means that you were using, and you can make a choice. Choice. That is the only freedom that we really have. All right, man. So that's my talk about being a Southerner, growing up in the cold weather, and being transplanted to Montana. Uh, y'all stay safe out there. My Southern brothers and sisters, hang in there. Get some warm clothes. Learn how to snowboard. Get you some all-weather tires. Don't run your generators in closed spaces. And if you can, if it gets real bad, just get the hell out of there, man. Get the hell out of there. My sisters and brothers call me. They're in Dallas, Texas right now. My brother and two sisters. If they call me and say, "Hey, we going to Montana, we can't take it," I'm like, "Come on, bro, get the hell out of there." I know people can't do that all the time. They got jobs, they got responsibilities, but it's all about the skill, man. Make the most skillful decision you can in each moment. If the best you can do is, pony up some money for some snow tires, get you some water and food, and just hunker down. Find you some snow, some ski pants, and learn how to layer your clothes. Hey, at least have the solace of knowing you've done your best in that day. Tomorrow will take care of itself, right? It's hard. It's hard. I mean, second guessing yourself is what I'm talking about. Always second guessing ourselves is what gets us in trouble because we spend a lot of time second guessing ourselves and not actually figuring out the two or three or four most skillful things that we can do in each moment that will push our cause, move our cause forward. And so this is the difference in a Floyd Mayweather and a boxer whose name you don't know, right? It's a difference in a Muhammad Ali and a Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke used to be a boxer. You know that, right? But look at his face. His face used to be pretty boy. And then he stopped boxing. I think he loved it, but he wasn't, apparently from what I understand, he wasn't that good at it. And he messed his face up pretty good, I think, over the years. So, but hey, he was brave enough to do it, and he stuck with it. But he had enough sense to go back to acting. Thank God, because we got some great movies out of him after he quit boxing. So he figured out, hey man, this ain't my thing. But I'm sure he learned a lot while he was in the boxing ring. I'm sure he applies it to life every day. Things that he learned when he was a boxer. So I wasn't that good in MMA, but I did it. I learned. I learned a lot about life. Martial arts is a spiritual path anyway. Boxing is a martial art, so it shouldn't be a big thing to understand that um, combat sports and martial arts can be a way of learning about life. Until next time, y'all stay safe, man. I'm out of here. Peace.